Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Starbound, watching the endless stars through the main viewport. His crew had been out here for 3 months now, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of alien life. So far, they had found nothing but empty space and dead planets. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on their screens that morning. Lisa Bennett, his tactical officer, looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Captain, we have a massive ship approaching our position," she said. Lisa was a tough woman with short black hair who had served in the military before joining the exploration service. "It's at least 10 times bigger than us." Nick Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, whistled softly as he looked at his readings. Nick was a friendly guy from Texas who could fix anything that broke on their ship. "Boss, that thing is putting out more power than a space station. What kind of engines does it have?" Amy Turner, their communications officer, was already working at her station. Amy was young and smart, with long red hair and a gift for languages. "I'm picking up signals from the ship. They're trying to communicate with us." Jake felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his voice steady. "Put it on the main screen, Amy." The front screen changed to show the alien ship. It was huge and dark, covered in sharp points and weapon ports. It looked like it was built for war, not exploration. Jake had dreamed of meeting aliens his whole life, but he had hoped they would be more friendly. "Incoming message, Captain," Amy said. "They're using some kind of universal translation system." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The screen filled with the image of a creature that made everyone on the bridge step back. It was at least 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor that looked like black metal. Its face was long and narrow, with 4 glowing red eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Kithara Empire," the creature said. "You will identify yourselves and prepare to be boarded. Your ship and crew now belong to the Empire." Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were also ready to follow his lead. He had trained them well. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel Starbound. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your people. Admiral." Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans? How amusing. Another weak species trying to play with the big predators. Look at you. Soft skin, small teeth, no claws. You are clearly prey animals." The alien leaned forward, showing more of his sharp teeth. "Your species will make excellent servants. You seem intelligent enough to follow simple orders. Submit now, and we will allow you to live." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "We appreciate your offer, Admiral, but humans prefer to remain free. Perhaps we can discuss a trade agreement instead." This time, the alien's laughter was loud and harsh. "Trade? You think you have anything we want? We are the Kithara, the greatest hunters in the galaxy. We have conquered 1,000 worlds and enslaved 100 species. You will submit, or you will die." Lisa Bennett stepped closer to Jake. "Captain, their weapons are charging. They're targeting our engines and weapons systems." Jake nodded. He had expected this. Humans had been preparing for first contact for decades, and they had planned for the possibility that aliens might not be friendly. "Send a coded message to Earth Command, Amy. Tell them we have made contact with a hostile alien species. Include all scan data on their ship." "Message away, Captain," Amy replied quickly. Admiral Vexatar was still talking. "We will disable your pathetic ship and then board it. My warriors will capture you alive if possible. You will make interesting subjects for our scientists to study." The alien ship fired its weapons. Blue energy beams hit the Starbound, and the lights flickered. Nick Rodriguez worked frantically at his station. "They hit our main engines and weapon systems, just like they said they would. We can't fight back, and we can't run." Jake hit the ship's communication system. "All hands. This is the captain. We are about to be boarded by hostile aliens. Activate Protocol Omega immediately. This is not a drill. Throughout the ship, his crew began preparing for what Jake hoped they would never have to do. Protocol Omega was a secret plan developed by human military leaders. It was based on one simple idea. If humans couldn't win a fight with superior weapons or technology, they would use the one advantage they had always possessed. They would hunt. Jake watched as small ships launched from the alien vessel. Each one carried armed warriors coming to capture his crew. Lisa, take your team to Section 7. Nick, get your people to engineering. Amy, maintain communications with Earth and monitor alien transmissions. What about you, Captain? Lisa asked. Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. I'm going to welcome our guests aboard, and then I'm going to show them what humans do when we're cornered. The alien boarding ships attached to the starbound's hull with loud, clanging sounds. Jake could hear cutting tools working to breach their airlock. He looked around the bridge one more time. His crew was already gone, moving to their assigned positions. In a few minutes, the ship would be full of alien warriors who thought they were hunting helpless prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first aliens came through the airlock 20 minutes later. They were just as big and scary as their admiral, covered in black armor and carrying energy weapons. War leader Zakth led them, his 4 red eyes scanning for targets. Spread out, he ordered his warriors. Find the humans and capture them alive. The admiral wants to study these creatures before we decide what to do with their world. The aliens moved through the ship like they owned it. They had done this many times before with other species. They expected the humans to either fight desperately and die quickly, or hide and be captured easily. They had never met a species that would do something completely different. Jake watched them on the ship's internal cameras. The aliens were strong and well-armed, but they moved predictably. They stayed together in groups, made lots of noise, and went straight for the most obvious targets. They were used to winning through fear and superior firepower. Amy, are you getting all this? Jake whispered into his communicator. Every second, Captain, Amy replied from her hidden position. Earth Command is analyzing everything. They want as much data as possible on these aliens. Good. Lisa, what's your status? In position, Captain. The aliens just passed my section. They're heading for the crew quarters, just like we predicted. Nick, how are those modifications coming? Almost done, boss. These aliens are about to get a real surprise. Jake smiled again. The aliens thought they were the hunters, but they were wrong. They had just walked into the territory of Earth's most dangerous predator. They didn't know it yet, but the hunt had already begun. War leader Zakth moved through the human ship with confidence. He had boarded hundreds of alien vessels in his long career, and they were all the same. The weak species would either fight desperately and die, or hide in terror until his warriors found them. These humans seemed to be hiding, which was smart of them. Zakth had seen the scans of their bodies. They were small and soft, with no natural weapons or armor. They would make poor fighters but excellent slaves. Squad 1, check the crew quarters, he ordered. Squad 2, secure the bridge. Squad 3, find their engine room. These humans cannot have gone far. His warriors spread out through the ship, their heavy boots echoing in the metal corridors. Zakth followed Squad 1 toward what his scanners showed was the largest crew area. That was where the humans would likely be hiding together, scared and helpless. But when they reached the crew quarters, they found something strange. The rooms were empty, but they looked like people had left in a hurry. Clothes were scattered. Around food was still on tables, and personal items were everywhere. They ran when they heard us coming, said one of his warriors. Cowards. Zakth was not so sure. Something felt wrong about this. In his experience, prey animals either fought or froze when cornered. They did not organize and retreat like this. But humans were obviously prey animals, so there must be a simple explanation. That was when the lights went out. Emergency lighting came on a few seconds later, bathing everything in red light. Zack growled in annoyance. "These humans are trying to slow us down. Find their power systems and fix this." But before his warriors could move, they heard a sound that made them all freeze. It was a human voice, speaking their language perfectly. "Coming from speakers all around them. Welcome aboard the Starbound," the voice said. It was calm and friendly, like someone greeting guests at a party. "I am Captain Jake Morrison. I hope you enjoy your visit," Zack snarled. "Human, show yourself and surrender. We will not harm you if you cooperate." "Oh, I think there's been a misunderstanding," Jake's voice replied. "You see, you're not the hunters here. You're the prey, and the hunt has already begun." Before Zack could respond, one of his warriors screamed. The sound came from down the corridor where Squad 2 had gone to secure the bridge. The scream was cut off suddenly, leaving only silence. "Squad 2, report," Zack barked into his communicator. Only static answered him. Lisa Bennett crouched in the maintenance tunnel above the corridor where the alien squad had been walking. She had been watching them for 10 minutes, learning how they moved and communicated. These creatures were dangerous, but they were also predictable. She had grown up hunting deer in the forests of Montana with her father. He had taught her that patience was the most important skill a hunter could have. "Wait for the right moment," he used to say. "One perfect shot is better than 10 rushed ones." The aliens moved in a tight group, always staying close together. They were used to intimidating their enemies with superior numbers and firepower, but that made them vulnerable to a different kind of attack. Lisa had used Nick's modifications to the ship's systems to create a trap. When the aliens passed under a certain section of corridor, she had vented the atmosphere behind them and sealed the doors. 3 of the 4 aliens had passed out from lack of oxygen before they realized what was happening. The 4th one had been stronger and lasted longer. Lisa had waited until he was alone and confused, then dropped down behind him. Her knife found the gap in his armor at the neck. It was over quickly and quietly. Now she was moving to her next position. The aliens would find their dead squad members soon, and they would be angry and careless. That would make them easier to hunt. Nick Rodriguez was having the time of his life. He had always been good with machines, but he had never had a chance to use his skills like this. The alien invaders had no idea how much damage one human engineer could do to a ship's systems. He had started by taking control of the gravity generators. A touch on his control pad made the artificial gravity in Section 4 turn off suddenly. The 2 aliens walking there found themselves floating helplessly in the air, trying to grab onto walls and furniture. Then Nick turned the gravity back on at double strength. The aliens crashed to the floor hard, their heavy armor making the impact even worse. They were not seriously hurt, but they were confused and angry. While they tried to figure out what had happened, Nick opened the emergency sprinkler system in their section. But instead of water, he had filled the system with lubricating oil from the engine room. The aliens found themselves slipping and sliding on the floor, unable to keep their footing. "This is too easy," Nick whispered to himself as he watched the aliens struggle. "These guys have no idea how to adapt when things don't go according to plan." He moved to his next target. The aliens had sent a squad to find the engine room, not knowing that Nick had turned it into a maze of traps and dead ends. They would be wandering around down there for hours, getting more lost and frustrated with every minute. Amy Turner was doing her own kind of hunting from the communication center. She had broken into the aliens' communication network and was listening to everything they said. More importantly, she was learning how to mess with their heads. The aliens used sound-based communication, but they also relied on electronic signals to coordinate their attacks. Amy had found the frequency they used and was now sending false messages. "Squad 4, report to Section 2 immediately," she broadcast in perfect Kithara language. "Unknown threat detected." "Squad 4, ignore that order," she sent a minute later. "Report to Section 5 instead." She watched on the security cameras as the alien squad ran back and forth through the ship, trying to follow orders that made no sense. They were getting tired and confused exactly what she wanted, but Amy's real talent was psychological warfare. She had recorded the death cry of the alien that Lisa had killed, and now she was playing it through speakers all over the ship. Every few minutes, the sound of their dead comrade echoed through the corridors. The effect on the aliens was immediate. They had never heard one of their own kind scream in fear and pain. They were used to being the ones who caused that kind of terror, not experiencing it themselves. War leader Zakth was starting to understand that something was very wrong. He had lost contact with 2 of his squads, and the remaining warriors were reporting equipment failures and strange attacks throughout the ship. These humans are more clever than they appear, he admitted to himself. But cleverness would only delay the inevitable. He still had 8 warriors with him, and they were heading for the ship's command center where the human captain was probably hiding. They reached the bridge and found it empty, just like everywhere else. But this time, Zakth was ready for tricks. He posted guards at all entrances and had his warriors scan every corner for hidden enemies. That was when Captain Jake Morrison walked onto the bridge through the main door. He was alone, unarmed, and completely calm. He looked at the 8 heavily armed aliens surrounding him and smiled like he was greeting old friends. "Hello, War Leader Zakth," Jake said. "I've been waiting for you. I think it's time we had a proper conversation about who exactly is hunting whom on this ship." War Leader Zakth stared at the human captain standing calmly in the middle of the bridge. This was not how prey animals were supposed to behave. They should be running, hiding, or begging for mercy. They did not walk into rooms full of armed predators and smile. "You are either very brave or very stupid, human," Zakth growled. "My warriors will kill you where you stand." Jake Morrison did not seem worried. He looked around at the 8 Cathara soldiers pointing weapons at him and nodded like he was counting them. 8 left out of 20. Not bad for a few hours' work, but the night is still young. "What are you talking about?" Zakth demanded. "What happened to my warriors?" "They met my crew," Jake replied simply. "And they learned something important. About humans. We don't give up. Ever." Before Zakth could respond, another scream echoed through the ship's communication system. This one was different from the recordings Amy had been playing. This one was live, and it came from one of his remaining squads. Jake listened to the sound with professional interest. "That would be Lisa. She's working on the team you sent to the cargo bay. Lisa grew up hunting in the wilderness. She knows how to track, how to wait, and how to kill without making a sound." Zakth felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death in battle, which every warrior understood, but fear of being hunted by something he could not see or understand. "You're trying to frighten us with tricks and shadows," he said, but his voice was not as steady as before. "We are Cathara. We do not fear prey animals." Jake shook his head. "That's your problem right there. You keep thinking we're prey, but humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being prey. We became dominant by being better predators than everything else." Another message came through the communication system. This time it was Nick's voice, speaking in the Cathara language. "Attention, alien invaders. Your life support systems are now under my control. Your weapons are being systematically disabled. Your communication with your ship has been blocked. Have a nice day." As if to prove his point, the lights flickered and the air circulation system made a loud grinding noise before shutting down. The temperature on the bridge began to rise immediately. "Impossible," Zakth snarled. "Our technology is superior to yours. How can one human control our equipment?" "Because Nick understands something you don't," Jake explained. "Technology isn't about who has the biggest guns or the fanciest computers. It's about who knows how to make things work. and humans have been making things work for a very long time. Jake began walking slowly around the bridge, and somehow the alien warriors found themselves turning to keep him in sight. He was unarmed and outnumbered, but he moved like he owned the room. "You want to know what makes humans dangerous?" Jake continued. "It's not our strength or our speed. We're not the biggest or the toughest, but we have one ability that no other species on our planet could match." He stopped walking and looked directly at Zack. "We never stop learning. Every challenge makes us smarter. Every defeat teaches us something new. Every enemy shows us a better way to fight." The alien leader was becoming more nervous by the minute. His warriors were shifting uncomfortably, looking around the bridge like they expected attacks to come from every shadow. The screams from other parts of the ship had stopped, but that somehow made things worse. The silence meant his people were either dead or captured. "For millions of years," Jake went on, "humans survived on a planet full of creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. Creatures with claws and fangs and armor that made your natural weapons look like toys. But we didn't just survive, we became the apex predators." Amy's voice came through the speakers again, but this time she was not playing recorded screams. She was speaking directly to the aliens on the bridge. "War Leader Zack, this is Communications Officer Amy Turner. I have some information you might find interesting." "What information?" Zack demanded. "I've been monitoring your fleet's communications for the past 3 hours," Amy replied cheerfully. "Did you know that Admiral Vextar is considering abandoning you if this takes much longer? Apparently, losing an entire boarding party to a single human ship would be embarrassing for the Empire." Zack's eyes went wide. That was classified military information. How could this human have accessed their secured communications? Jake smiled at the alien's expression. "Amy has a gift for languages and codes. She's been teaching herself your written language while listening to your radio chatter. She's also been sending some very interesting messages to your admiral." "What messages?" Zack asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "Oh, just updates on how the boarding is going," Jake said casually. "Like how your warriors are being systematically eliminated by superior human tactics, how your technology is being turned against you, how the prey you came to capture has become the predator that's hunting you." The temperature on the bridge was getting uncomfortably hot. Several of the Cathara warriors were breathing heavily inside their armor. They had been designed for quick battles, not extended engagements in hostile environments. "You're wondering how long you can keep this up," Jake observed. "Your armor is heavy, your weapons are running low on power, and you haven't had food or rest for hours. But my crew, we're just getting started." Lisa Bennett's voice came through the communication system. "Captain, I finished clearing the lower decks. 12 aliens down, all still alive but secured. Should I start working my way up to your position?" "Take your time, Lisa," Jake replied. "Our guests are just starting to understand the situation," Nick's voice followed. "Boss, I've got control of their shuttle bay. Their escape route is now closed. Also, I've been playing around with their weapons. Turns out they're not as advanced as they thought. Pretty easy to jam once you understand the basic principles." Zack raised his weapon and pointed it at Jake. "Enough! You will order your crew to surrender, or I will kill you now." Jake looked at the weapon without concern. "Go ahead and try, but you should know that Nick has been jamming your weapons for the past 10 minutes. That energy rifle you're holding is just an expensive club right now." Zack squeezed the trigger. Nothing happened. He tried again, then looked at his weapon in confusion and growing panic. "The thing about humans," Jake said, his voice still calm and friendly, "is that we're persistence predators. Do you know what that means? It means we don't need to be faster or stronger than our prey. We just need to be smarter and more determined." He gestured around the bridge. "Your people are ambush predators. You're used to quick kills and easy victories. But when that doesn't work, you don't know what to do. You can't adapt. You can't change your tactics. You just keep doing the same thing over and over, getting more frustrated when it doesn't work." Amy's voice came through the speakers one more time. War Leader Zakth, I have Admiral Vextar on the line. He wants to speak with you immediately. Should I put him through? Zakth looked around at his warriors. They were tired, confused, and demoralized. Their weapons were useless, their technology had been turned against them, and they were trapped on a ship with creatures that seemed to know their every move before they made it. For the first time in his military career, War Leader Zakth was thinking about retreat. Admiral Vextar paced the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ship on his main screen. The boarding operation should have been finished hours ago. His warriors should have captured the humans and secured their vessel. Instead, he was receiving confusing reports about equipment failures, missing squads, and impossible human tactics. Put me through to War Leader Zakth, he ordered his communications officer. The response came through immediately, but it was not Zakth's voice. Instead, a human female spoke in perfect Kithara language. This is Communications Officer Amy Turner of the human vessel Starbound, she said politely. War Leader Zakth is currently unavailable. He and his remaining warriors have surrendered and are being held as prisoners. May I take a message? Vexitar's jaw dropped. Impossible. You are lying. I'm afraid not, Admiral. Your boarding party has been completely neutralized by our crew. They are alive and unharmed, but they are no longer in control of the situation. Would you like to speak with Captain Morrison? Before Vextar could answer, the human captain's face appeared on his screen. The man looked calm and confident, not at all like someone whose ship had just been boarded by superior alien forces. Admiral Vextar, Jake Morrison said with a slight smile. Thank you for sending your warriors to visit us. It's been very educational. What have you done with my people? Vexitar demanded. They're safe, Jake replied. A bit embarrassed, perhaps, but unharmed. We humans don't kill prisoners unless we have to. It's not efficient. Vexitar stared at the human in disbelief. You are prey animals. Small, weak, defenseless. How could you possibly defeat Kithara warriors? Jake's smile grew wider. Admiral, I think you need to reconsider your definition of what makes a predator dangerous. Size and strength are useful, but they're not everything. Would you like a demonstration? Before Vexitar could respond, Jake gestured to someone off-screen. Lisa, would you bring our guests to the bridge? A few minutes later, War Leader Zakth and his 7 remaining warriors walked onto the bridge of the human ship. They were not bound or restrained, but they moved like defeated animals. Their armor was damaged, their weapons were gone, and their confidence had been completely shattered. Zakth looked directly into the camera. Admiral, I must report that the boarding operation has failed. These humans are not what they appear to be. Explain yourself, Vexitar ordered, his voice cold with anger. They hunt like nothing I have ever encountered, Zakth said slowly. They do not fight us directly. Instead, they use patience, intelligence, and cooperation to turn our own strengths against us. They made us hunt ourselves. Jake stepped forward. Admiral, your warriors are excellent fighters when everything goes according to plan, but humans learned long ago that battle plans never survive contact with the enemy. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. Nick Rodriguez appeared on screen next to his captain. I've been studying your technology while we had some free time, he said cheerfully. It's impressive, but it has some interesting weaknesses. For example, your weapons all use the same power frequency. Jam that frequency, and they become useless. Amy Turner joined them. Your communication systems are also vulnerable to interference, and your soldiers don't seem to know how to operate independently when their chain of command breaks down. Finally, Lisa Bennett stepped into view. She was carrying several pieces of Kithara equipment. Your armor is designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, but it has gaps at the joints. Your warriors move in predictable patterns, and they make a lot of noise when they walk. Jake looked directly at Admiral Vextar. "The point is, Admiral, that your people are used to winning through intimidation and superior firepower. When that doesn't work, they don't know what to do." "But we do," Lisa added. "Humans have been solving impossible problems for our entire history. We're very good at it." Vexitar was beginning to understand something terrible. These small, soft creatures had not just defeated his warriors through luck or accident. They had systematically analyzed Cathara tactics and technology, identified weaknesses, and exploited them with ruthless efficiency. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "First, I want you to understand what you're dealing with," Jake replied. "Humans are not prey animals, Admiral. We're apex predators. We just hunt differently than you do." Jake gestured to his crew. "We don't rely on individual strength or speed. We use teamwork, intelligence, and persistence. We study our targets, learn their weaknesses, and then we systematically exploit those weaknesses until we win." Amy stepped forward. "Admiral, I've been monitoring your fleet communications. I know you have 12 ships in this system, all waiting for your orders. I also know that your empire has standing orders to retreat if any boarding operation takes more than 6 hours. "How could you possibly know that?" Vextar demanded. "Because we've been listening to everything you say," Amy replied simply. "Your encryption is good, but not perfect. We've been learning your language, your culture, and your military procedures since the moment we met." Nick grinned. "And we've been analyzing your ship designs. Did you know that your main reactor has a critical flaw in its containment system? One small modification to the power flow, and the whole thing becomes unstable." Lisa held up a small device. "This is a scanner I took from one of your warriors. I've been using it to map your ship's layout. I now know the location of every critical system, every weapon, and every weak point." Jake nodded approvingly at his crew, then turned back to the Admiral. "You see, Admiral, this is what humans do. We learn. We adapt. We find solutions to problems that seem impossible. For 3 million years, humans survived on a planet where everything was trying to kill us. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no poison. But we had something better. We had minds that never stopped working and the determination to never give up." Vextar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that you made a mistake when you decided to hunt us," Jake replied, "because now we're going to hunt you back. And when humans hunt something, we don't stop until we catch it." The Admiral looked at War Leader Zacht. "Is this true? Are they really this dangerous?" Zacht nodded slowly. "Admiral, in all my years of combat, I have never encountered anything like them. They think like predators, but they hunt like something else entirely. Something that doesn't exist anywhere else in the galaxy." "What do you mean?" Vextar asked. "They hunt like a natural disaster," Zacht said quietly. "Patient, inevitable, and completely unstoppable. They don't just defeat you. They study you, understand you, and then they systematically dismantle everything you thought you knew about warfare." Jake smiled again, but this time it was not friendly. It was the smile of a predator that had found its prey and was deciding what to do with it. "So, Admiral, let me make you an offer. You can withdraw your fleet and report back to your empire that humans are not suitable prey. Or you can escalate this situation and find out exactly what 3 million years of evolution has taught us about hunting." Vextar stared at the human captain for a long moment. Then he looked at his defeated warriors and realized he was facing something completely outside his experience. "I will consider your offer," he said finally. "You do that," Jake replied. "But while you're thinking, remember this. We know where you are, we know how your ships work, and we're very good at solving problems. The question is, do you really want to become our next problem to solve?" Admiral Vextar stood alone in his private quarters, staring out at the stars. The human ship hung motionless in space before his fleet, looking small and harmless. But appearances, he was learning, could be very deceiving. He had ruled the Kithara, Empire's military forces, for 30 years. In that time, he had conquered 47 star systems and enslaved dozens of species. Every alien race had followed the same pattern. They either fought desperately and died, or they surrendered quickly and became servants of the Empire. The humans were different. They had done something no species had ever done before. They had turned his own warriors into the hunted instead of the hunters. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to his quarters. "Come," he called. War Leader Zakth entered, still wearing his damaged armor. The proud warrior who had led the boarding party 12 hours ago was gone, replaced by someone who had seen something that challenged everything he believed about warfare. "Admiral, I must speak with you," Zakth said quietly. "Report," Vextar ordered. Zakth was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Admiral, these humans are not like any species we have encountered. They do not think like prey animals, and they do not fight like any predator we know." "Explain." "When we boarded their ship, we expected them to either attack us directly or hide until we found them. Instead, they disappeared completely. Then they began hunting us one by one, using tactics I had never seen before." Zakth moved to the viewport and looked out at the human ship. "They turned their own vessel into a weapon against us. They used our equipment against us. They learned our language and our communications protocols while we were fighting them. Most importantly, they never stopped learning and adapting." Vextar joined him at the viewport. "You are saying they are more intelligent than other species?" "No, Admiral. I am saying they think differently. Other species we have conquered were either naturally aggressive or naturally peaceful. The humans are both and neither. They adapt their behavior to match the situation." Zakth turned to face his commander. "Admiral, I believe we have encountered something that the Empire has never faced before. A species that is our equal as predators, but completely different in how they hunt." Before Vextar could respond, his communications officer's voice came through the intercom. "Admiral, the humans are requesting another conversation with you." Vextar walked to his desk and activated the communication screen. Captain Jake Morrison appeared, still standing calmly on his bridge. Behind him, Vextar could see his own warriors moving freely around the human bridge, but they no longer looked like conquerors. They looked like students learning from teachers. "Admiral," Jake said politely, "I hope you've had time to consider our conversation." "I have been thinking, yes," Vexatar replied carefully. "Tell me, Captain Morrison, what is it that you really want from this encounter?" Jake smiled, and this time it seemed genuinely friendly. "I want you to understand what you're dealing with when you meet humans. We're not prey animals pretending to be predators. We're not weak creatures trying to bluff our way out of trouble. We are exactly what 3 million years of evolution made us." Amy Turner stepped into view beside her captain. "Admiral, I've been studying your empire's history while we've been talking. You've conquered many species, but they all followed predictable patterns. They were either herbivores who couldn't fight effectively, or they were predators who relied on individual strength and aggression. Nick Rodriguez joined them. The thing is, humans are different. We evolved as pack hunters on a world full of creatures that were individually stronger than us. We learned to survive by being smarter, more cooperative, and more persistent than anything else." Lisa Bennett appeared on screen as well. "We learned to hunt creatures that could run faster, hit harder, and had better natural weapons than we did. We did it by working together, using tools, and never giving up no matter how long it took." Jake nodded at his crew, then looked directly at Vextar. "Admiral, your empire has been successful because you've only met 2 types of species: prey, animals who couldn't fight back effectively, and solitary predators who could be defeated by superior numbers and firepower. But humans are pack predators with tool-using intelligence," Jake continued. "We don't fight fair, we don't give up, and we learn from every encounter. Most importantly, we get stronger every time someone tries to defeat us." Vexatar felt something. Cold settled in his stomach. What are you saying? Amy stepped forward. While we've been talking, Admiral, we've been transmitting everything we've learned about your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses back to Earth. Human military. Scientists are analyzing this data right now, Nick grinned. By the time you get back to your empire, humans will know how to build weapons that can penetrate your armor, jam your communications, and disable your ships. We're very fast learners. Lisa held up several pieces of Kithara equipment. We've also been reverse engineering your technology. Some of it is more advanced than ours, but none of it is beyond our ability to understand and improve upon. Jake's expression became serious. Admiral, you came here thinking you were dealing with a primitive species that would be easy to conquer. Instead, you've given us a complete education in Kithara military capabilities. From our perspective, this has been an extremely valuable learning experience. Vextar looked at war leader Zakth, who nodded grimly. Admiral, everything they're saying is true. While they were hunting my warriors, they were also studying us. Every piece of equipment we brought aboard, every tactical decision we made, every communication we sent. They were learning from all of it. The question now, Jake said quietly, is what happens next. You can report back to your empire that humans are just another weak species that got lucky, but we both know that would be a lie. Or, Amy added, you can tell them the truth, that you've encountered a species that hunts the way humans hunt, patient, intelligent, cooperative, and absolutely relentless. Nick stepped forward. Either way, Admiral, this encounter is going to change things. You've given us a detailed look at your technology and tactics. We've shown you what humans can do when we're cornered. The galaxy just became a very different place. Vextar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Captain Morrison, may I ask you a direct question? Of course. If our positions were reversed, and humans had encountered my ship first, what would you have done? Jake considered the question carefully. We would have tried to establish peaceful relations first, just like we did. But if you had threatened us, or tried to enslave us, we would have done exactly what we did today. We would have studied you, learned your weaknesses, and then systematically defeated you using those weaknesses against you. And after that, we would have learned everything we could from the encounter and prepared for the next time we met, your people. Humans don't like to make the same mistake twice. Vexitar nodded slowly. I see. And what do you think will happen when the Kithara Empire learns about this encounter? Jake looked at his crew, then back at the Admiral. That depends on how smart your people are. If they're intelligent, they'll realize that humans are not suitable prey and will avoid conflict with us. If they're not intelligent, they'll see this as a challenge to their dominance and will send more ships to try to conquer us. And if they send more ships? Jake's smile returned, but it was not a friendly expression. Then they'll discover what happens when humans have time to prepare for a fight. Admiral, you caught us by surprise today. We had to improvise and adapt on the spot. Imagine what we could do if we knew you were coming. Lisa stepped forward. Admiral, humans have been preparing for contact with hostile aliens for decades. We have weapons, strategies, and technologies that we haven't shown you yet. What you've seen today is just what a single exploration ship could improvise in a few hours. Amy nodded. If your empire decides to escalate this conflict, you'll be facing the entire human species, 300 billion people who all learned the same lessons about hunting that we did. Nick grinned widely. An admiral we've been getting, very good at building things that kill other things. It's kind of a hobby of ours. Vexitar was quiet for several minutes, thinking about everything he had learned. Finally, he spoke. Captain Morrison, I believe I understand what you're telling me. You're offering me a choice. That's right, Jake confirmed. You can go back to your empire and tell them that humans are a species to be left alone. Or you can tell them that humans are a threat that needs to be eliminated. But you should understand that the second choice means war. And if it means war? Jake looked directly into the camera. Then your empire will learn what every predator on Earth learned eventually, that humans are not prey, we're the apex predators. And when we decide that something needs to be hunted, we don't stop until we catch it. Admiral Vextar made his decision. He had lived long enough to recognize a superior predator when he saw one. The humans had demonstrated something that no other species had ever shown, the ability to turn the Kithara's own strengths against them. Captain Morrison, he said formally, I will recommend to the Empire that humans be classified as a peer predator species. We will not attempt to conquer or enslave your people.